Welcome to Film Fu, where the cuts are as clear as the kicks. I'm Shifu Pain, and you know what martial arts films need? An Avengers-level threat.
And I'm not talking about Thanos having a kung fu fight with Ip Man or anything.
I mean, we need everyone. All the best and brightest martial artists that the genre has to offer. All united against a common threat. And we'll call them the Sidekickers.
With all their top names: Michael J. White, Scott Adkins, Tony Jaa, Tiger Chen, and for added flavor, Donnie Yen, Sammo Hung, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, that Kung Fu Kid, Darth Maul, John Wick, and Bruce Lee's Force Ghost.
And today, we're going to take our first look at the Sidekickers cinematic universe with Triple Threat.
Released in 2019 and starring the first four names I said, plus Iko Uwais and Selena Jade, directed by Jesse V. Johnson and written by Joey O'Brien and Bang Jin-song, Triple Threat contains the definite theme of revenge scattered throughout, with there being multiple cases of a nemesis relationship. It's not always mutual, there may even be the development into a mutual nemesis trope, but for the most part the protagonists are trying to get revenge on the antagonist.
Revenge for what, you may ask? Let's take a look at the plot.
A band of mercenaries break into an MI6 facility to grab their friend, played by Atkins, and on the way out try and kill a couple of local guides, played by Jaa and Chen, and actually kill the wife of a security guard, played by Uwais. While that's going on, an heiress, played by Jade, seeks to undo the criminal syndicate and is therefore chased down by the aforementioned mercenaries, which includes Atkins and Jay White. The guides and heiress work together to survive and outrun the mercenaries while Uwais plays his own angle.
This film has a fast pace and a lot of action, so there's not really a lot of time to explore a lot of themes and character progression, but in fairness, that's not what we're here for. This film is all about the action and just seeing these great martial artists just interact off of each other and play off each other.
With that in mind, there's a lot of screenplay shorthand, such as who's the good guy and the bad guy, for instance. Want to say someone's evil quickly? Have them shoot a dog. Want to show the protagonist quickly? Have them help a dog. With this in mind, the bad guys are set up right from minute one by mowing down several people with no context. How many people?
Welcome to Murder Maps, where we tally up the deaths in all our favourite martial arts films.
I counted 76 kills in this film, with the golden nunchucks for the best death going to this lady getting blown up with a rocket launcher. You don't see that every day in a martial arts movie. Rusty sword for lamest death goes to Michael J. White, who gets impaled falling on a railing. For Michael J. White, one of the best action stars in the business, that shit's weak.
We'll now return to our regular programming before the horror movie counting gods will... Wait.
This sort of cat-and-mouse game, while a solid plot structure, has the wrinkle in the form of Uwais playing the big boy play of playing both sides, working as the double agent and moving the chess pieces behind the scenes, moving things to where he wants them, and biding his time before striking. There's an indication that Uwais, or Jaka, wants to soak up as much pleasure as he can from toying with these mercenaries, or at least with Jay White, who he has the most anger towards, subtly taunting and prodding White until the climax, where he finally has him where he wants him. And this is where the nemesis relationship is one-sided, because White doesn't really care much about Jaka personally until he finds out he's a spy, but Jaka sees him as the one who killed his wife, although he doesn't at first. It's worth mentioning that when Jaka goes to confront Chen and Jaa and fight them, he's still injured, heavily bleeding and clearly not thinking through his actions. He's not biding his time, he's letting out his anger and grief at the two he sees as responsible. Once he finds out that they weren't to blame and that there are others at play, he begins to let go of his anger in favor of strategy and playing the long game.
But speaking of fights, let's take a look at the action scenes in this film.
Tin Man was the primary fight coordinator for this film, with a hefty amount of experience as a stuntman and coordinator, with some notable examples being a few episodes of Mortal Kombat Legacy, along with The Gods, The Two Worlds, and Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
With this in mind, there are so many noteworthy action scenes in this film that it was actually hard for me to pick just one to talk about here.
Finally, the scene I decided to focus on, and the one we'll be looking looking at takes place roughly by the midpoint, with the team of mercenaries going to the police station where Jade, Jia, and Chen are. We get more of that shorthand because, let's be honest, raiding a police station is obviously stupid.
Not as much as, say, raiding Capitol Hill, but that would never happen.
This illustrates going in just how arrogant they are and or how desperate they are. When we eventually get to the action, we start off strong with a clean combo of a roundhouse and a turn hook kick. Jia is known for Muay Thai, being seen most in Ong Bak. That continues here, with Jia and Glasses Guy trading kicks, including a sweet turn side kick. The low roundhouse is appreciated too.
But here's a prime example of reality and film logic colliding.
Because here we have Glasses Guy do a complete turn for the low roundhouse. While the back is turned, there is the perfect opportunity to strike. That doesn't mean playing dirty by hitting the back of the head or anything, but you have options. Collapse the knee, for example, or a chokehold. Anyway, the fight continues with blows traded, and we get to another instance with the two getting into a brief hold and they drop to the floor. Here is an interesting interplay, because Jia had this set up looking at this for an armbar, and he set it up, but the guy escapes the hold. It fits. This guy trained for the military to be efficient. Escaping holds and bars is something he'll be trained in, but as he gets up, Jia flying knees him, followed by a nice combo of a low elbow to the abdomen, left hook, and a knee to the stomach. This is followed by a brief readjustment and the Glasses Guy grabbing some knuckle dusters. That's a shorthand for this guy being willing to play dirty. But it also showcases how the better fighter is Jia. If you need an extra weapon to gain the upper hand against an unarmored opponent, you've already shown your hand and how inadept you are. Illustrated further by this guy going to a front kick and letting Jia do this multi-step attack on his knee and then his chest.
Your hands are right there! Use them!
At least he took my note about striking out of the line of sight. And the duster has a pop-out knife. How insecure is this guy? Just as Jia becomes cornered and the guy has him on the plasterboard, the fight ends with Jaka coming in and shooting him. Jia delivering the final blow to the back of the head.
Not gonna lie, that felt anticlimactic.
Don't worry, boys, we got another fight right now! Woo! As Chen fights with this other mug to give Jia and Jade enough time to get away. Chen is a martial artist who's probably most known for his work with Keanu Reeves in Man of Tai Chi. Starting off strong with a nice jump back kick and proceeding to a block of a couple of punches and a roundhouse. A hook kick is followed by Chen with a side kick. Some back and forth between the two, with him dodging another roundhouse by crouching and then going into a right hook. I feel as though this is similar to the low roundhouse earlier, but I feel as though Chen did it fast enough comparatively to get away with it. Chen escapes a chokehold from there with a technique I'm not sure of where to place. I think it's from a martial art that has a grappling focus concentrating on hand to hand. It could be Hung Gar, but the relative fluidity of the motion puts me more in mind of Tai Chi or Wing Chun. It's followed by an elbow to the chest and a collapsing of the knee, bringing it back to Hung Gar.
Let's just say it's one of those combinations with a lot of overlap.
Chen gets put into a hold and is thrown to the ground. By comparison to Jen and Jia, who have showcased more flashy techniques in traditional martial arts, these mercenaries have both displayed moves that functionally compare to MMA, more direct and deliberate.
It brings in a subtle commentary on tradition versus the contemporary.
It finally ends with Chen and this guy getting into what's basically a pushing match. Here's where we bring back the tradition and what again puts Tai Chi into the mind, because as Chen and this guy go back and forth, they inch closer to the wall, finally having the momentum to give Chen the high ground and deliver the final blow. Chen takes control of the momentum and plays it to his advantage.
It's very reminiscent of Enter the Warrior's Gate,
where the princess pulls off a technique with the same philosophy, botched as I think the execution is.
And for more details, plug.
As I've said, this film has the running theme of revenge scattered throughout, with Jaka waiting for his revenge on Jay White, with Jaka anxious to get his pound of flesh against Atkins, and Chen is waiting for his tea to get cold.
I alluded to Jaka only strategizing after the fight.
You can imagine Jaka building that fight up in his head. The wound on his arm is still fresh, so he's barely stopped to breathe. He's just been tracking and moving closer to Jia and Chen, rage filling him up until he gets the release of taking his revenge on these two killers. Only to find out that his anger got him nowhere. He lost the fight and then found out he was targeting the wrong people. It adds in an interesting commentary on taking vengeance, that trying to just run in headfirst and blindly attack the problem won't do anything. That really you need to slow down. Slowly bide your time.
It's like getting passed on a promotion because someone bought their way into the position.
Sure, you could loudly let out your frustration, most likely getting fired for the outburst, Or you could work hard, improve on the parts you're lacking in, make yourself more noticeable, and eventually outdo that guy just thanks to your work ethic and determination, or just quit and start your own business.
Which one would you prefer? The quick and easy path, or the longer but more rewarding path?
With Chen, there's more the impression that he's backing up his friend rather than personally offended by what happened. Jar is more eager to go on the offensive. Jar uses his contacts to get the weapons they need, and Jar is the one to kill Atkins. I think that Jar would probably have been on the similar path as Jaka if not for Chen, the mediating influence for him. Otherwise, it's likely he would have gone for the head first option and likely gotten himself killed.
So with that being said, what are we left with?
First of all, on a martial arts front, while yes, it's always great to pull off fancy moves and awesome techniques, but if you don't put any sense into them, you'll risk letting down your guard and getting trampled all over.
Use your head, it's not like you've got a lot of alternatives there.
Lastly, going into a situation already angry or without thinking, as we've seen, does nothing but impede your own ability.
Anger is easy. It's simple. It's direct. But poisonous. It lights the spark under you, to be sure, and acts as motivation, but it fills you only with negativity, and won't let you see anything past your own hatred. It's short-sighted, and quite frankly, a waste of time.
What is it that you actually want?
War.
Right. And when this war is over, when you have a homeland, what do you think it's going to be like? Do you know? Have you thought about it? Have you given it any consideration? Because you're very close to getting what you want. What's it going to be like? Paint me a picture. Are you going to live in houses? Do you want people to go to work? Will there be holidays? Oh, will there be music? Do you think people will be allowed to play violins? Who's going to make the violins? Well, oh, you don't actually know, do you? Because, like every other tantruming child in history, you don't actually know what you want.
Thank you for watching this week's video, and in the comments let me know if you've seen Triple Threat and what you thought about it. I frankly thought that it kind of dragged a little bit on the fight scenes, like there were one too many. I actually kind of, by the end, just felt rather tired out, and as though I wanted to watch something else, which isn't really something you should be feeling by the end of the film, by the climax, really. I think the better sort of structure is something like in Wuxia, where it's, well, there are only certain numbers of fight scenes, but they're all very distinct and all very, distinguishable from each other. But with that, until next time, everyone, peace be with you.